What's up, YouTubers? This is your boy Big Metroid Fan. Welcome to you with another video game review. And this time I'm reviewing Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse for the NES by Konami. And it is the third and final Castlevania game on that particular console. And the plot of the game is that in 1476, Trevor Belmont is on a mission to take out Dracula with the help of three particular characters, Cypher, Grant, and Alucard, subsequently making it a prequel to the first Castlevania game. Now, the title of it is a head-scratcher when you consider the plot. Why would they call it? Why do they make the title Castlevania 3 knowing that it's a prequel? It kind of, it pretty much reminds me of the four Scorpion King movies, where they do pretty much the same thing with two of those movies, where instead of being a direct sequel, it's pretty much a prequel, and that really don't make sense to me to do that, even though I'm not gonna harp on that real strong, but it doesn't make any sense nonetheless. But anyway, Castlevania 3 has 10 stages to it, where after you complete a particular stage, you can pick one or two paths before you begin the next stage. In some of the stages, you can pick Alucard, Cypher, or Grant to go with Trevor. I said the only downside is that you can only pick Grant, Cypher, or Alucard, which could affect how you progress, rather, getting tongue-tied there. But I wish that you could have all three of them go with Trevor, because some of the stages is more constructed to the strength of Cypher, Grant, or Alucard. Now, pretty much, Trevor uses the whip much like Simon would with the first two Castlevania games. Danny, I don't know, Grant can use daggers, but it's not pretty much the weakest primary weapons of the four characters. Cypher uses a staff, and she's also good with magic and stuff like that. And of course, Alucard, me and Dracula's son, can fly. You can change it to a bat and fly, and he also uses fireball too. Now, the secondary weapons from the first Castlevania game pretty much make a return: the axe, stopwatch, boomerang, dagger, and the holy water and stuff. Mainly Trevor uses those secondary weapons, and while Grant maybe uses one or two of them, while Cypher has her own secondary weapons: the fireball, the fire spell, ice spell, and lightning spell. And Alucard don't use none of them, has no secondary weapons, rather, mainly because I guess Konami felt that Alucard didn't need any secondary weapons while they were making it. Now, some of the enemies that's in the game make a return from what I'm saying is, some of the enemies from the previous two Castlevania games on the NES do make a return, like the bats and zombies and stuff like that, while there are other enemies that's new to Castlevania 3, like the bullfrogs and the eyeballs and stuff like that. But the one thing that Castlevania 3 is known for and is legendary for is its insane difficulty. Boy, it is hard, pretty much tougher than a $3 steak. It's even tougher than the previous two Castlevania games, you know? And that's like really says something because the first two Castlevania games are hard, and I've had the first one in particular. So yeah, it is. This game is particularly tough. You know what I'm saying? I would say pretty much the graphics and level designs are pretty good. You know what I'm saying? And it's quite similar to the first Castlevania game in that regard, even though the designs are pretty much fundamentally different in the setup. Now the gameplay is pretty good too, particularly with the addition of Alucard, Brandon, and Cypher. But at the same time, the jumping is kind of stiff, like the first Castlevania game. I would say the second one too. And if you're going up the stairs, you're pretty much vulnerable to take a hit from an enemy before you get to the top. So those two things will work against you. And the soundtrack is pretty good too, and I can honestly say it's probably the best part of Castlevania 3, and consistent with the other two Castlevania games on the NES, even though it has its own new soundtrack. Not necessarily new, but it has its own soundtrack nonetheless. But the main gripe I do have, and I just discussed it a couple minutes ago, which is the hard, insanely unforgiving difficulty, you know. And it's mainly due to two specific things that I've noticed. One will be the enemy placement, like the first two Castlevania games. So if they come and they hit you and you happen to be in a spot where you happen to be on one platform or try to jump to the next one, they hit you, and while you're in the process of jumping to the next platform, it's instant death. Even though you might have full health. And the other is it has certain hazards that were not in the previous two Castlevania games, like the crumbling platforms. That it's the worst. You know what I'm saying? Especially with especially with the enemies coming at you. They don't hold your hand at all. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, Castlevania 3 is the hardest Castlevania game on the NES, which is saying something because the other two Castlevania games on the NES are hard themselves. You know, I used to have the first Castlevania game out, and I know how hard that one is. You know, but somehow Konami found a way to make Castlevania 3 even harder than the first one. That one is a head scratcher to me. You know what I'm saying? Now, the fact of the matter is, even though it's kind of like, even though it's the difficulty like sooner in Castlevania 3 for NES than the first two, you know. But despite the difficulty, Castlevania game is a good game, you know what I'm saying, from an overall standpoint. And it's, I could say, one of the best NES games that Konami made for the NES. And it plays pretty similar to the first Castlevania game. Now, I would seriously only recommend Castlevania 3 to hardcore gamers, to retro gamers, fans of the Castlevania franchise, and YouTubers who do Let's Plays on their channel. As far as the score, I would definitely give it an 8 out of 10. Some gamers might give it a lower score than me or a higher score, depending on who you talk to, but it is a good game nonetheless. With that being said, if you like Castlevania 3 or happen to be one of your favorite NES game or Castlevania games, you can mention it in the comment section of the video. If you like my review of Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse on the NES, don't hesitate to click the thumbs up button and share it. And don't forget to subscribe. This is your boy, Big Metroid Fan 12, signing off.